This is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, week 2 of the season in the books. We are already moving along. It seems like preseason was just getting underway.
Yeah.
Kind of was, but here we are in week 2, and we have a lot of games going on tonight. A lot of scores.
Yeah.
We're going to hop right into them, Kaleigh.
Well, starting off with game of the week, Holmes County visiting Port St. Joe. They get the road win 44-36. Then over at Tommy Oliver tonight, a big rivalry. Mosley gets the win. Big second half for the Dolphins, 53-15. And then over in Vernon, Boseman on the road. They're looking for the first win of the season. They get that 41-3. In the Battle of the Bulldogs, Mariana gets the shutout 35-0.
We are heading over to Cottondale, and they put up 56 tonight. Again, we mentioned they averaged about 44 points a game last season.
Yeah.
Seems like they're right on that same pace this year. 56-14 over FAMU. North Bay Haven, they had a tough battle with North Florida Christian, who was scoreless early in the for much of the first half. North Florida Christian wins that one at 10-2. Arnold rolling big, 47-14 over Hamilton County. I think we said, was that their first 2-0 start since 2013?
Who would have thought?
2-0. They were 0-9 last year and 2-0 right now, 47-14. And then Wewa Hitchka, that one was close. It was tied at 14. Brantford pulls away late, 28-14.
And then Walton on the road tonight. Another tough loss for the Braves. They fall 28-21. Same score for their rival down south, South Walton. Also on the road, they lose by 2, 9-7. Chipley also on the road tonight, but it's good for the Tigers. They win in overtime, 24-18. And then Franklin County also making some school history tonight, 12-7. Their first 2-0 start in school history.
That's some big turnarounds right there. These are the Thursday night games. In case you missed it last night, Bluntstown and Rutherford, fantastic triple overtime finish. Bluntstown wins 27-21. Sneed's not having a great night. Kaleigh was up there. Apparently everybody is, sick, injured. It is not going well right now in Sneed's, and they lose that one 38-13 over Seminole County. Jay, seems like they got themselves a team this year, because they rolled past Vernon last week. They rolled past Freeport last night, 34-6. So those are the scores that we have tonight. We're going to head right into our game of the week, but we're going to, first of all, I see some comments down there. We're already getting a little bit of a hint of, what everybody's excited for. Obviously, Mosley with a fantastic 35 points in the second half to roll away there. Same thing that I said last week. If you weren't here, join us in the comments. Let us know who you're excited about. What was your favorite moment? Who shined out the most to you? Throw some stat lines in there. Throw your favorite, talk about the chippy game at Tommy Oliver Stadium. Talk about what you like to see, who you're looking forward to the most next week, all that good stuff. We want to hear you down in the comments. But Kaleigh, I'm going to let you take it over with our game of the week. Holmes County 2-0.
Yeah, we talked about how both of these teams went to the region final last year, and we're expecting good things for both of them, but a lot of differences for each of these squads. Most importantly for Port St. Joe, they faced a tough Wakulla in week 1, got a little banged up there, so some players not able to play to their best, some not even playing and may miss for the remainder of the season, so I definitely think that played in effect for Port St. Joe tonight. And then you see Holmes County looking like they're starting to find their rhythm, a lot of guys having to step up. One of those right there, that duo between Griffin and Seeger, that looked amazing tonight. 3 scores from those two. So Holmes County just looked to shine tonight. We had some strong defensive plays from both teams, strong offensive plays from both teams, but Holmes County was able to kind of take that edge in every play. They went for 2-point conversion after every score, and they were successful on every one of those. So entering the half, they were up by 3 just because of those 3 attempts. And we saw that help them. And then they pull away in the second half. So a lot of talent on both these squads. Chance Gaynor really holding down for Port St. Joe. And he had to take some times on the sideline, take some breaks from the game. And you definitely saw that affecting them. Corbin Butts was not in attendance tonight after suffering a leg injury in week 1. So that definitely hurt Port St. Joe. So I think the move now for Port St. Joe is figuring how do we, let these other players step into those starting roles and let them be the playmakers when your playmakers aren't able to perform to their best ability.
Right, and whether it's a banged up, St. Joe or not, they got some guys over there. It's a tough environment to play in Port St. Joe at all. So a huge victory for Holmes County.
And it was a great matchup for sure, too.
Right, and rolling past Boseman last week to come into, Port St. Joe this week. I already see some support for the Blue Devils down in the comments, and you got to be excited after this one. That quarterback to receiver duo. They looked like they had it rolling tonight.
I like those two. I like watching them.
That was a fun one. So, and again, Chance Gaynor, he's fantastic anytime the ball is in his hands. We saw that, opening play. Here's him again right here. Anytime that he's got the ball in his hands, there's a good chance that he's going to break loose for a big play.
Here's another one right here. The diving, trying to get it in, steps out on the 1 yard line. He stood off to that sideline, Holmes County sideline, just for a little bit, trying to catch his breath because he was working so hard tonight. So, you always want to have a guy like that on your team. So he looked really good tonight.
Right. And, Holmes County, one thing that I was thinking about them last week, is over the last few years, it's been, okay, our senior quarterback is graduating. Our senior quarterback is graduating, and then it's like, all right, who's going to step up? Who's going to fill that position? And then each year, somebody new comes in. It goes from Colby Jones to Landon Lumpkin, and now Race is coming in and doing a fantastic job. It seems like they know how to coach quarterbacks in Holmes County because they can sling the ball over there.
And I think it helped for Race too, stepping in. They were making some changes in the playoffs last season, so they wanted Landon Lumpkin to focus a little bit more on that safety position because he was very strong defensively. The kid could run as well, so they moved Race into that position late in the season. He adapted well, and I think that's helped him for this season as well. The question mark was, who would his receivers be? Where would he be able to throw the ball? And it looks like you have some guys really stepping up. You have that duo right there. So I think stepping in last season helped him, and he just looked prime for his senior season.
2-0, can't get any better than that. And I see a lot of Blue Devil support down in the comments. I see first win over Port St. Joe, or at Port St. Joe rather, since 1987.
Wow.
That's from definitely a reliable Holmes County source. I know Mr. Duncan, he's a Blue Devils through and through. So we're going to roll with that one. I trust your stat there, but 1987, I mean, they haven't played very often. We said the last time they played was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 2020. So they haven't played in a while.
These two don't match up as frequently as others.
But it should be. It's a good matchup.
Right. We like this. We got to see that more and more for sure. We're going to continue in the comments real quick until we head to the Mosley Bay game. I'm already seeing a lot of comments down there. Chippy versus Bay. How about Carson Griffin, 5 touchdowns receptions this season? I see some Marlin support. We'll get to them in just a little bit. And then Seahawks rolling again. Bluntstown, big game last night, that's for sure. We'll talk more about them in just a bit. Mosley, again, things got chippy, but they rolled in the second half. We're going to go ahead and get into that next game. Mosley and Bay High. And right off the bat, I saw Bay High coming out and put some hits, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is not the team that I saw last week against Arnold. They came to play. And then this, they were switching things up, the tight formations. Joaquin Waters burst into the open, and I'm like, okay, Bay came to play tonight. They really did. They wanted to, come out and stun a Mosley team that's definitely heavily favored in this. And then all of a sudden, Sammy, he gets back into, the offense and throws one up to Carson Griffin, who we said is just been incredible so far this season. We knew, with some of his favorite targets last year graduating, who was going to step into that position. Obviously, it's Carson at this point. And then Sammy had Sammy Chisholm. We have Sammy Freitas at quarterback, Sammy Chisholm at running back. A couple of Sammys there. And come on, Sammy, he was dancing like crazy tonight. Sammy Chisholm against his former team, and he had himself a night, multiple touchdowns. This fumble definitely hurt Bay's confidence in the first half. Mosley goes up to make it a 18-7 game, a 2-point conversion, a field goal there in the mix. There's Sammy dancing like crazy. I love it.
I love it.
Keep it rolling. But Bay doesn't back down. We got the 2-quarterback system. Chris Noel, he scores again, and it's all right. All of a sudden, it's a 3-point game. There's some belief that Bay is going to hang around in this. The sideline, they're talking to me. Hey, did you expect this? Probably not. And I said, you got to hold on to it in the second half, though. And clearly, that did not happen.
They didn't listen.
Mosley scores 35 in the second half, 35 on unanswered points, and it gets ugly from there. So Mosley, they are the team. They are the team to beat this year in Bay County. It's really not relatively close. If there was any team that had a chance, in my opinion, it was Bay High tonight. And trying to get this game, they had them in the first half to play it close. Mosley pulled away, showed that they're superior. That defense is fantastic. The offense maybe even better. So, Mosley Dolphins 53-15. Only one win for Bay over Mosley in the Tommy Joe Wooden era. That clearly was nowhere close to happening tonight. So right now I'm looking at a Mosley team that could go pretty far this season. They got some dudes that can play the offense, defense. They came out a little slow. They got things together. Big second half. What do you kind of see from Mosley? As so far they look pretty unstoppable right
yeah,
now.
we talk about the experience that this team has, and you just see it play out week after week, the talent, the depth. I mean, they really look like they have the full package this season. I think Sammy's really stepped into that senior leadership role. He's been a leader for this team for the last 2 years, but now he's that senior. He's had all of that experience, and he looks confident. And Sammy Chisholm coming in here, too. I mean, it's always big when you're playing your former team, so I know he liked that. And then the dance moves just cap it off even more. I think for Bay, I like the creativity here. If you're going to play a tough Mosley team like that, you got to get a little creative. And, you know, it makes you kind of think, this 2-quarterback system, is this something they're going to continue? It's something they've done in the past. Some coaches say, well, you know, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of scheme plays out through the year. I know they used both guys last week against Arnold, and it started to work a little bit more in their favor tonight, scoring 15 points in opposed to just 7 last week. But, you know, it's hard when you lose week 1 like that, trying to figure out your system, and then you come face a Mosley team. You saw it in the first half kind of get together, but then that second half, the Dolphins really took over. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for Bay, and I'm just excited to watch this Mosley team through the remainder of the season.
They are 2-0 right now, and Bay 0-2 for the first time since 2009. That's not where they want to be. They definitely got a winnable game next week. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But going to head to another Bay County team, one that was in the Final Four last year. Took a beating to Holmes County in week 1. That's Boseman. They put on a show in the second half tonight. It was pretty close for these two in the first half until Boseman kind of got things rolling a little bit. And then at that point, it was a lot of playing from behind for Vernon. And, you know, there's just so many weapons for Boseman this year, especially with a guy like Lakota Johnson coming over from North Bay Haven. He's kind of a jack of all trades over there. Boseman pulling away late in this one. It gets kind of ugly. What do you see from Boseman as they bounce back after getting, you know, kind of a wake-up call against Holmes County in week 1?
Yeah, well, you're definitely going to hear a lot of those familiar names just from North Bay Haven, not from Boseman. So you have Spurlock, you have Lakota Johnson. All of those guys will get thrown in there. What was interesting watching the highlights of this game and reading through them, Lakota was put under center for some of this game. You know, 2 talented guys between the 2 of them. So it's interesting, and, you know, looking at that 2-quarterback system, is that going to be a thing, or is it, you know, just kind of late in the game? Let's see what Lakota can do under center. So they looked a lot better than last week. It's also heartbreaking on the other end from Vernon, getting that playoff appearance last year and talking about how excited they were to come into this season. And they faced some tough opponents. I mean, we saw Jay with a big win over Freeport this week as well. So, and then Boseman wanting to bounce back from last week, kind of figuring out what they needed to work on, I think, over this week in practice. And this was a good matchup for Boseman. So hopefully Vernon will be able to figure it out throughout the season too, because I don't want to see them keep losing. But a good bounce back for Boseman for sure.
Vernon will figure it out for sure. But Boseman now 1-1, the loss to Holmes County. And they've got a big one next week as their former coach, Jason Griffin, comes from Arnold. And I believe they're going to play at Boseman. We'll get to those in just a little bit. But Boseman now got to face their former coach next week, so they better be ready when Arnold comes to town. Mariana, 35-0 over Liberty County. And that's one of those games where you kind of saw that this game's going to be as bad as Mariana wants it to be. So they took control early in the first quarter. They didn't really look back. Amari Clemens in week 1, 383 yards, 6 touchdowns. Week 2, they go to the air a bit more. You know, seemed like they were working on some things. You know, RJ Mays, he was slinging the ball, going to, you know, his favorite target. Multiple touchdowns between him and Holden. But this was, again, just a game where it's how bad does Mariana want to win. They cruised to a 28-0 lead. I believe they put in some of their backups in the second half, and then they rolled to a 35-0 victory here. But coming off that win against Walton last week, this was kind of like, okay, Mariana could be the team to beat around here.
Yeah.
Like, they genuinely could be a fantastic playoff threat. You know, what have you seen so far? Because you saw them last week in person against Walton. Just how good is this Mariana team?
They look really good. And something that I really like to see from them tonight was it not just relying on Amari. And it's not like they're doing that at all this season. They didn't last week, and they're not doing it again this week. So something last year, we saw the rise of Amari, and a lot of teams started to catch on to that. And I think that led to some of their demise late in the season, losing those games because teams knew, let's just target number 4 and we'll win the game. We'll slow them down. They'll stop scoring. And that was the case for a lot of the games last year, but that's not this year. There's receivers. RJ Mays can throw the ball. He can also run the ball. The trick in the first highlight of this reel. So I like to see that. I saw them at the game. They were supporting their fellow Jackson County team last night in Sneed's. Talked to some of them, and they were all excited. They were all talking about what they did in week 1 and how excited they were to contribute in week 2. So this team is so bought in. That's something when I went up there for their preview of the season, they were all just so excited for the preseason, that first Friday, to get on the field. And you can see it. I mean, every guy is getting his name called in these highlights. So it's just exciting to see the excitement of football in Mariana, because a couple years ago there were no wins in a season. There wasn't there, and it's their 100th year of football, so it's gonna be a good one.
Why not now?
Yeah,
I see some comments in there from Liberty County super fan John Brock, and he has nothing but good things to say about Amari Clemens, saying he's the real deal. He'll be in the swamp tomorrow, so it seems like Amari's gonna check out that Miami game to open the season. He really could be one of the best running backs in the Southeast. You know, clearly week 1, 383 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I did not stutter. 383 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was
against a Walton defense.
Right, against a Walton team that has sent multiple players to the Division I level on that defense, so they know how to play defense over there. Amari Clemens, he's the real deal.
Great kid, great player.
What kind of happens in the next few weeks over there with the Mariana Bulldogs. Again, RJ Mays, he was impressive too. Yeah. Looking like a true quarterback this year, kind of commanding the offense. He's got weapons everywhere.
And that was something that Coach was really excited about. Coach Glover was super happy about having that transition from his junior to senior season, that consistency in that position. He said that's not anything we've had in a couple years. So to have that was huge for them. So I know that's something they're excited about. And I know RJ's really excited about that too.
Yeah, Coach Nichols down in the comments scouting the basketball talent for Mariana. They've always got players.
A lot of them are out there too, stepping up for football this year.
Let's try it out with the pads this year.
Yeah,
and it's looked
football's back in Mariana.
But we're going to go ahead and move to the Cottondale game. That is one that, again, we said Cottondale picked up a big win over Sneed's last week. This week, it's kind of similar to Mariana, sense of how bad do you want, how bad score-wise do you want to beat them. This offense is rolling. They averaged over 40 last year, 56 tonight. Talk to me about Cam Odom, Jock Garrett in those Hornets, Kaleigh.
Well, you know, week 1, that's a huge win for Cottondale. Sneed's is a team that they see every year, sometimes twice a year when they see them in the playoffs, and that's always one that they've wanted to beat. And over the last couple of years, there was one guy that made sure that didn't happen, Jason Patterson. But now that he's graduated, Cottondale took advantage of that opportunity this year, and their offense looks solid. I mean, you have Cam Odom, he can run it, he can throw it. You have Mon Collins, the freshman, that can catch it. It's exciting to see him really step into that position this year, because last year it was a very run-heavy game for Cottondale, but this year they're able to throw it. I mean, you know, Cam is also a great baseball player, so it's exciting to see him be able to use his arm in that way. And then, of course, you can't forget Jock Garrett. Exciting to see him on the ground. So I just love seeing all the weapons they have. The defense stepped up with a big turnover, too. So, you know, it looks like it's really coming together for Cottondale. They have that experience. The senior class is pretty big, so I'm excited for the Hornets.
Yeah, they've looked good so far. I mean, now they averaged 44 last year. We're leading the state. Can they average 50 this year? I'm just saying. It's possible. We'll see. We're going to check in on the Thursday night game, one that I've just been wanting to talk about for the last 24 hours now. Bluntstown and Rutherford. Of course, we don't have Afterburn on a Thursday night. I know the Bluntstown faithful would have showed up if we did.
Oh, yeah.
But I hope that they're here tonight because those Bluntstown Tigers, they pulled out a gritty victory. And there really was nothing negative to say on either side yesterday. I saw a lot of Bluntstown fans coming out today and speaking credit to Rutherford. This is not a team that they've been in the past. They fought hard. They brought it down to the wire. But this is one that went back and forth. First half, so much offense. Rutherford scores first. Bluntstown going to score this on this next drive. Tristan King, he looks like he can really play quarterback this year. A new coach, he mentioned that in the preseason that this new coach has, helped him kind of let loose, figure out how to sling the ball, and it seems to be working. And then Zion Rochelle, that kid is just an athlete. Him and Chaston Scott, they can play football. This is a back and forth battle. It was 14-14 when Bluntstown scores their next touchdown. With a fade route here, Sion Smith, he's just a fantastic freshman. I think he's going to be going
and say that again, just a freshman.
Yeah, just a freshman. That's because we've been talking about him for the last couple of years on varsity as a middle schooler. That's why we're saying that. He can play. I think he might be visiting a couple of Division I schools this year, or looking at a couple of Division I schools. I don't know when the visits actually get to happen.
His Saturdays are probably pretty busy.
But he's probably already getting some calls. I don't know what the rules are there, but I'm sure he'll be getting some calls a little before his time. I'm not going to out you there, but definitely can play football and going to get recruited in the next couple of seasons. But Tristan King, he's playing so much better this season. Last year, he's getting into the offense. He's learning the system. He's taking those first team snaps, and he had so much pressure with all those Division I guys around him. This year, it seems like he's just playing backyard football. He's letting loose. He's leading the offense. He's moving with his legs. The legs are forcing the defense to respect him, and he's hitting his weapons. And those guys, they just play football. I got some stats from last night because Kayan Martin at the running back too, which is Kayan a freshman too, or is he a sophomore? I know he's an underclassman. Kayan Martin, he carried the ball 36 times for 185 yards. They really ground and pound with that offense. And then that just lets Tristan King let loose. This game goes to triple overtime. Tay Dawson scores the game-winning run. Just a fantastic game. Everybody left there last night. I know the Rams would have liked the win, but everybody left there last night going, man, like that is what football is all about. Triple overtime. We had blocked kicks. We had fumbles on the goal line. You had everything last night. And, I did hear some of the refs that were at the game tonight going, man, that one just went forever. So some people might not have been thrilled with it going to triple overtime, but it was a fantastic game, and I see a lot of Tiger faithful down here in the comments. Kayan is a sophomore, so we got Sion is a freshman, and Kayan is a sophomore. So I hope I'm saying both of their names correctly because I always have trouble going back and forth with the two because they're just so good at football. But 27-21 in triple overtime, Bluntstown gets the win. I enjoyed watching this team. Coach Wagner, he's got them going in the right direction. You can just see that this team wants to play football this year, and they're so young. They're so young, and they're playing so good. What do you see from Bluntstown this year?
Well, exactly that. Looking at Bluntstown from last year, all we talked about really was that senior class, a lot of top tier recruits from that class, a huge class, graduating that off, losing your head coach, having a new one step in. What would this Bluntstown team look like? And Coach Wagner said, I came to Bluntstown for a reason. He loves what football is in Bluntstown, and he didn't want it to take a step back at all. And I think this game really capitalized on that. I mean, going into triple overtime and coming out with the win Thursday night on the road. This team wants it. And, you talk about the younger players, but these guys stepping up, a freshman and sophomore, you got King as a senior, but these younger guys stepping in and showing, how big football is in Bluntstown. It starts from the ground and they're just carrying it through. So it's exciting to see that they haven't taken a step back so far this year, starting 2-0. So, Bluntstown is keeping up with football.
Hey, they've been to the Final Four in back-to-back years. They got a lot younger this year. Everybody expects them to take a step back, but 2-0, you can't ask for better than that. So, and I think they got Liberty next week. Or no, they had Liberty last week, but We'll get to that when the next matchups come up. Before we get to the next matchups, I do want to mention just briefly, because I know we're already going a little long here. A lot of stuff has changed. A lot has changed this year with the classifications, the playoff model specifically.
Yeah.
All of those Class 1R teams this year. A lot has changed. Boseman and Freeport, they've moved out of Class 1R. So we're down to 11 teams. And then Graceville, they're not having a season this year. So we're down to 10 local teams in Class 1R. And it is totally, totally different this year. For one, there's going to be 2 playoffs. There's going to be a state champion in the A division and a state champion in the B division. And it's going to be split. I think the final number was 34 teams enrolled this year. So they're going to split that dead down the middle. They're going to have a couple of play-in games right there for those lowest seeds in each one. And then it's going to play like a 16-team bracket. So it's going to be so different this year. And there's not regions. So it's not Region 1 with Holmes County and Shipley and Bluntstown and Boseman and those guys. It's no regions. It's going to be Hawthorne. It's going to be Madison County. That's going to be, all in the A division, we're assuming, and it's just going to be utter madness.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later in the season, but for anybody that didn't know about that, go check out the web story that I wrote a while ago talking about the new playoff model. That's on mypanhandle.com.
A lot of new divisions as well.
Yes, and a lot of people shifting around because they've moved back down to now a 1A division, but that's more for the private school. So a lot of shifts. If you think it's all the same from last year, check it out. It is not the same as last year. We're going to go ahead and get into those next week scores. Or next week's games, rather. Rickard's got a big one on Thursday night. They're 2-0 right now. They got Rickard's. That will be a tough one. North Bay, Haven, and Bay. Bay, again, we mentioned 0-2 right now. They definitely need that one.
2 0-2 teams.
Yes, 2 0-2 teams. Both need a win.
And I believe that's homecoming as well for Bay.
Hey, you heard it here first. Homecoming.
I think it is.
So it's just already? Bay looking for that first win. They definitely need that one. I feel like they're going to take some anger out next week, but we'll wait and see. The matchup I was talking about earlier, which I would have to say a potential for a game of the week, Boseman versus Arnold. Boseman picking up a big win tonight. We have a 2-0 Arnold, and they are facing their former head coach, Jason Griffin. That should be a lot of fun. Another big matchup, 2-0 Holmes County hosting a very good Walton team. Who's 0-2?
Yeah.
A very good Walton team.
That was not on my bingo card.
Not on the bingo card. Holmes County, Walton. That's also, I could see in the running for game of the week.
I've already seen some votes for that one. I've had some messages about potential game of the week there.
She's stirring the pot. She's taking some bets in there. She's getting money. Don't trust her. Tell me about the games next week, Kaleigh.
We got Northview visiting Freeport next week, and then we have Vernon and Weewahitchka. Both of those teams also 0-2, so someone will come out with a win out of that battle. Port St. Joe and Liberty County. That's a one for Port St. Joe to potentially bounce back from these last 2 weeks. Same with Liberty County, more 0-2 squads. And then Maclay and Mariana.
Yeah, I think Maclay was the first loss that Mariana, if I remember right, it was maybe the first loss. It also could have been Gadsden County, but my memory is not doing me well right now. So they definitely are looking for that 3-0 start. We got Rutherford and Shipley. That's another one where we got a 2-0 Shipley. They won in overtime tonight. Yeah. I saw the Tiger support. I saw it. I did see it.
Yeah.
Sorry if I didn't mention you on there. Shipley getting the big win tonight. They are 2-0. Rutherford 0-2, but looking very good. They played Bluntstown all the way to triple overtime. I mean, should they count as half a win? No, it doesn't work that way. But Rutherford's going to be
good game.
Shipley.
Good game, Rutherford.
Fantastic game. 2-0 Franklin County hosting FAMU DRS. We saw what Cottondale did to FAMU tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's another potentially favorable matchup for Franklin County.
They had some big plays tonight. I saw an 80-yard return from the sophomore Sadiq Jones in that game. So they look pretty good.
Yeah, and I know it's a very, very long way to Franklin County for us, but we'll see what we can do in trying to get somebody over there.
It's a beautiful drive.
It's a beautiful drive. We'll have to sell that point to one of our reporters going over there, but we will do our best to get Coach Cooper and his guys some coverage when Franklin County hosts FAMU. We got South Walton, Cottondale, Bluntstown, and Sneed's all on bye weeks.
Sneed's the potential bye. They were scheduled with Graceville, so as of now, no game scheduled. So bye week, but I'm not sure if Coach Thomas has plans of scheduling anyone for that game.
Awesome.
For that week.
Is that the last list right there?
That's the last next week.
Awesome. So yeah, that is week 2.
Some more panhandle matchups for week 3.
Yes, that was something that we had tonight. We had so many scores because a lot of our teams were playing teams from out of the area, so it didn't, it wasn't as many head-to-head matchups, except for this page here where they're all playing head-to-head. But anything else that I'm leaving out tonight? Anybody? We do have play of the week. Do you want to pull that up? Let's pull that up. Let's give them a shout out. Again, this is back-to-back weeks that we've called play of the weeks against Holmes County, and Holmes County won. So this is no offense to you, Holmes County Bulls, because you guys are
still
fantastic.
winning.
You're 2-0, but the teams against you are having some pretty phenomenal plays. We had the kick return last week. This week we have Chance Gaynor on the trick play here. Kaleigh, was this one that you were expecting? Was this a tough one for you to catch on camera?
No, it wasn't too bad. I like the back of the end zone ones. You always got to watch out for the goalpost, the legs of it over at Port St. Joe. But there was just seconds left on the clock. They had to really get it moving, try to get that score, because a 3-point deficit heading into the half versus 10 would be big for the Tiger Sharks, and kept it pretty close within the second half. But it was a fun play. Have some fun with it as we head into the half. And again, we talked about Chance Gaynor last season, a jack of all trades, and he showed it again tonight.
Hey, he's doing great. That is going to do it for us for week 2. If you want to see the highlights of any of these games, if you want to go back and watch them, we'll have them posted shortly on mypanhandle.com. We got a whole lot more next week. We'll have potentially that Mosley game for you on Friday night, even if you don't get to watch it on our actual News 13 show. But we will try to get you as many games as possible. Week 2 is in the books. We'll see you next week.